Hello everyone and welcome back to another modelled writing video. So in today's video we are looking at task 2 questions. So they are the longer essay style questions. You'll have 40 minutes to answer these questions and we're looking to do a minimum of 250 words. So that's what we'll be looking at today, and we'll be going through the structure, how to plan for these essays, and also then we'll do the write-up as if we were in the exam itself. So hopefully this is useful to you today. We'll be going through some tips on how to get the top band scores, and you can follow along and see how you would structure these questions, what you would do, and hopefully you find it useful. Okay, so with that being said, let's get started. And we're going to begin with looking at foreign languages. Some people believe that the best way to learn a foreign language is to live in the country where the language is spoken, while others think that it is possible to learn it in other ways. Discuss both views and give your opinion. Okay, so I know straight away what type of question this is. We want to state both sides, but also give our opinion. So we can do this in a few ways. We could state one side, then the other side, and then a separate paragraph for your opinion. That's one way. But today what I'm going to show you is the 4-paragraph approach. So we'll have our introduction, one side that we don't agree with, and then the third paragraph will be about the side that we do agree with, and then of course at the end we'll do our conclusion. So we have introduction, 2 main bodies, and then our conclusion, and that's what we'll be looking at today. So let's have a think then. And we've got our plan here. So a plan is so essential to help us stay focused, not to waver, not to say anything irrelevant. These are all things that will help our score. Okay, so we want to think about a side that we are just going to present, but we're not arguing for in this case. So some people believe that the best way to learn a foreign language is to live in the country where the language is spoken, while others think that it is possible to learn it in other ways. Okay, so I think for the purpose of this essay, I am going to argue that it's best to live in the country. So let's start with talking about other ways that you can learn a language. And I like to put our opinions second so that it's quite a nice way to we have our present one side and then we have our other side with our opinion. It makes for a bit of a nicer flow, I think. Okay, so other ways in which you can use, learn a foreign language through apps, of course, tutors, various things like movies or media, if you consume media in that language. And I think just dedication, doing it every day, is essential. Okay, so we'll present this side, but then we'll talk about living in the country being the best way to learn a foreign language. And why is that? Well, you're more likely to use it every day. There's no choice in the matter a lot of the time, so you get to speak to locals. If you're living in the language, you're more likely to make friends. More likely to make friends who also speak that language, who speak the same language, the same foreign language. So, or you're more likely to meet people who perhaps speak your language and this other language as well, the combination of the two. So there's just more chances to speak it. And along with the language, you learn perhaps social customs that go along with the language learning, which also enhance the language that you're learning. So it's yes, it's sort of a combination of everything there. Um, yeah, okay, so our conclusion then, we want to restate our opinion. Um, and we're going to just say that even though that there are other ways, so there are other ways, but the best way is to live in the country. So there are other ways, but the best way is to live in the country. Okay, so we've got our plan there, and this is going to help us in the exam. You'll have this there, your notes, so you can refer back to this, and yeah, hopefully this will help us with our arguments, and we don't have to remember everything. Then we've got it right there. Okay, so I think we can go to the write up, and we're going to start how we always start, by paraphrasing this sentence here. Some people believe that the best way to learn a foreign language is to live in the country where the language is spoken, while others think that it is possible to learn it in other ways. Okay, let's give this a go. So on one hand, various maybe groups in society argue that the best way, maybe the most ideal way to become proficient in another language is to live or is to reside in the nation where it is used, where it is the mother tongue, maybe. On one hand, various groups in society argue that the most ideal way to become proficient in another language is to reside in the nation where it is the mother tongue, while others think that it is possible to learn it in other ways. On one hand, maybe on the other hand, to follow that nice phrase there. On the other hand, or on the other side. There is a viewpoint which, and there is a viewpoint that states it is possible to educate yourself in other ways, or through other methods. Okay, so we've paraphrased. Now let's dive into what we're going to do in this essay. So in this essay, I will examine, or I will present both opinions and agree that living in the country is living in the country is the most efficient way to learn a different language. Okay, let's read this back and see how it's sounding. On one hand, various groups in society argue that the most ideal way to become proficient in another language is to reside in the nation where it is the mother tongue. On the other side, there is a viewpoint that states it is possible to educate yourself through other methods. In this essay, I will present both opinions and agree that living in the country is the most efficient way. We've used the most is an efficient way to learn a different language. Okay, I think that's good. We've just gone back and double checked that, edited, made sure it all sounds okay. So now we can go into other ways of learning a language. So let's do a nice topic sentence. If you are to stay in your country where you were born, it is still possible to we've used become proficient, educate yourself, we've used learn as well. Maybe a different word. We can use a different form of the word. So to begin learning a second or even maybe second language. Language is hard to paraphrase, that's okay. Okay, so we're opening this up then. There are still ways which you can learn. Let's think about maybe tutors could be our biggest form of educating yourself. So the most or a reliable form of language education is to hire a tutor or join a group class. Maybe we could say in some formats. For example, joining a group class. So why is that? Well, two reasons: you have accountability and you're paying money. So these are all motivations. Primary motivations to dedicate oneself is due to accountability of having another person or people or group or people involved in your learning. And additionally, a nice linking phrase there, and additionally, the financial commitment. Motivating somebody to work hard. So you want to get the most out of it and work hard in this situation. So that is one way that you can dedicate yourself. You can use apps, and we can talk about other forms of media as well. So alongside this strategy, an individual can transform their media into the desired language. For instance, they could watch TV in the maybe vernacular. That's quite a good word for language they wish to adopt. For instance, they could watch TV in the vernacular they wish to adopt with subtitles, nice brackets here, if necessary. Maybe in their first language, if necessary. Okay, so we've got tutors or group classes. We've got media as well. We could just mention the various other different forms of media. Moreover, there is this word plethora of other resources to assist learning, such as podcasts, movies, music, and apps. Maybe we could say, just to link it back to the question, to assist learning in your home nation. Okay, let's see how this sounds. We'll read it back. If you are to stay in the country where you were born, it is possible to begin learning a second language. A reliable form of language education is to hire a tutor in some format, for example, joining a group class. The primary motivations to dedicate oneself is due to accountability of having another person involved in your learning. We could say the primary motivation to dedicate oneself is the accountability of having another person or people involved in your learning. Let's do a nice full stop there. Additionally, the financial commitment motivating somebody, we could say, there is the financial commitment motivating somebody to work hard. Alongside this strategy, an individual can transform their media into the desired language. For instance, they could watch TV in the vernacular they wish to adopt, with subtitles in their first language if necessary. Moreover, there is a plethora of other resources to assist learning in your home nation, such as podcasts, movies, music, and apps. Okay, I think that's good. We just went back and tweaked a few things, made sure it sounds okay. We've got some variety of sentence structures, good vocabulary here. All right then, so I think we can go into our opinion paragraph, which is where we will be stating what we think as well alongside the viewpoint. So let's make this clear by addressing the last paragraph. Whilst having a teacher is useful, or is maybe we've used motivating, we've used accountability, while having a teacher is a successful route. It is clear that there is no substitution for living in the country of the tongue you're wanting to speak. Whilst having a teacher is a successful route, it is clear that there is no substitution for living in the country of the tongue you are wanting to speak. Okay, so let's make a comparison. So in your home country, learning is an active choice. Whereas if you are situated in France and want to learn French, the majority of the time using this language, it is not a choice, it is a necessity. For this reason, picking up on, let's relate this back to the question. So for this reason alone, learning becomes an immersive experience which maybe a word for learning becomes an immersive experience which we almost want to say catapults or speeds your, maybe catapults, why not? Catapults your education. For this reason alone, learning becomes an immersive experience which catapults your education. Maybe learning is unrivaled and maybe language learning via this road is unrivaled and becomes an immersive experience which catapults your education. Okay, so let's just make another point here just to bulk this out a little bit. So we could say that you're more likely to make friends who speak perhaps both languages, or you pick up on social customs as well, which helps with the language. Maybe more than this, you also, or one also learns social customs interconnected with the spoken words, which assists in understanding the language, understanding the language, which assists in understanding the language and aids the learning process, or aids the process further. So everything's helping. The fact that you're living there, more than this, living in a different country, one also learns social customs interconnected with the spoken words. This assists in understanding the language and aids the process further. We could also add a line about meeting friends. So not to mention the possibility or the higher chance of making friends who talk in your in the language you are developing. This no doubt helps with we could talk about how you learn a language, but then there are more natural ways of sounding. So friends help with, obviously you can learn by books and through teachers, but friends, they teach you things which of how people really speak the language. This no doubt helps with using the language in a more casual daily setting as well. Okay, let's read this back and see how we're doing. Whilst having a teacher is a successful route, it is clear that there is no substitution for living in the country of the tongue you are wanting to speak. In your home country, learning is an active choice, whereas if you are situated in France and want to learn French, the majority of the time using this language is not a choice, it is a necessity. For this reason alone, language learning via this road is unrivaled and becomes an immersive experience which catapults your education. More than this, living in a different country, one also learns social customs interconnected with the spoken words. This assists in understanding the language and aids the process further. Not to mention the higher chance of making friends who talk in the language you are developing. This no doubt helps with using the language in a more casual daily setting. Okay, I think that's good. We've tweaked it along the way, made sure there are no errors. So let's just do a nice conclusion restating what we've been talking about here. In summary, there is no denying it is possible to become a linguist in more than one language. However, strikingly, there is no match for living in that country as you are forced into using using it in a much more frequent and practical way. However, strikingly, there is no match for living in that country itself, as you are forced into using it in a much more frequent and practical way. Okay, so I think that's good. We'll just count the words and see how we're doing. Slightly longer essay here today. So this was a larger essay. This did come to 394 words, which is on the higher side of the word counts. If you wanted to cut down, you could probably take a point off here and maybe a point off this one as well, just to make it a bit more succinct. But at least you've seen the way in which we've approached these essays. They are, yes, with your opinion, you can weave it into the second main body here. And present the one side and then present the next side. So hopefully you've been following along and that's been making sense for you. Okay, well, I think we can go to our next essay now, which is going to be all about traffic congestion. So this is quite a popular topic, I would say. this idea of traffic. It's often interconnected with pollution and things like that, the environment. So this can be presented in many different ways. Okay, the question itself. Within urban areas and cities, traffic congestion is becoming an increasing problem for many people. What are some of the problems that this brings? What solutions could you offer to solve this solution? Sorry, to solve this issue. So we've got a two-part question here. One question and then the next question. So you could do this in a variety of ways. You could do our structure for a problem solution type question, where in one paragraph you'll have the problem, then you'll have the explanation, and then you have the solution and a results, and a mixture of those different options. You might have seen this in another video. So that is one route. I think for this one, I might just tackle them as two separate questions and see how that goes. So there's flexibility in this. I think when there's two questions, it's nice to tackle each question. If it was, say that this didn't exist, this question mark, and it was just one big question, then I might tackle it in the other way. But I'll show you how to do this as a multi-part question today. All right then, so let's go to our plan. And paragraph 1 will be thinking about the problem of traffic congestion. So traffic congestion problems. Okay, so problems that come to my mind is the fact of the convenience. What are some of the problems that this brings? Well, if the roads are constantly congested, then it's very inconvenient for many people. It might affect quality of life of the citizens there because commuting might be particularly difficult. They might spend more on petrol if they're sat in traffic. And then we can link in the cost of living crisis with sitting in traffic, spending more on petrol, and combined with just everything being more expensive, this is a problem. And also, if you're sat in traffic, there's lots of congestion, then this, of course, allows for more time for emissions to be released, and especially if you've got your engine running, ticking over, this can contribute more to pollution as well. Okay, so a variety of problems that traffic congestion is bringing is an interesting question actually, because it says traffic congestion is becoming an increasing problem. What are some of the problems that this problem brings? So we're thinking about the problems that this first problem is bringing. Okay, like a knock-on effect really. So then, what solutions could you offer to solve this issue? Well, traffic congestion, that suggests cars, it suggests buses, things like this. So maybe we need more development into public transport. We could create also alongside this, we could do a government campaign maybe to promote cycling and walking. So that's another route we can go down. We could also not make driving as appealing. So make driving unappealing, e.g., maybe we could restrict it in the city centre, or we could, I know that some cities have places where some roads are only open late at night and in the day they're closed to the cars. So this dissuades people who are perhaps taking a trip that they don't that's unnecessary. Perhaps they can take public transport. Perhaps there's other ways of doing it. This dissuades them from getting in the car in general. So yeah, I think those are some good ideas there. Okay, so in our conclusion, this is not an opinion question. We're not being asked for our opinion. So we're just going to say there are a few problems and some solutions as well. Okay, and some solutions. And we'll, of course, in the write-up, we'll restate them from the essay, but just for the plan, we can note that down. All right then. So we've got few problems here, and then a few solutions. So they should be quite equally weighted, hopefully. Right. Well, I think we can go to the write-up itself. And of course, like always, we need to paraphrase this sentence here. Within urban areas and cities, traffic congestion is becoming an increasing problem for many people. So we could say something like, it is apparent that in urban areas and cities, highly built up areas, maybe highly developed and built up areas, traffic congestion is becoming an increasing problem for many people. Vehicle maybe the quantity of vehicles quantity of vehicles or maybe traveling. There are many vehicles on the road causing issues. There are many vehicles on the road causing issues for many people, for the majority of society. It is apparent that in highly developed and built up areas, there are many vehicles on the road causing issues for the majority of society. Okay, that's good. Now let's go into what we're going to do. So in this essay, we're not going to use I because it's not an opinion. So in this essay, the problems will be maybe the problems connected with this issue will be presented a lot, maybe alongside. We've used problems actually. The issues we've used, the problems, the impact, the negative impacts connected with this issue will be presented alongside some possible ways to rectify the problem. Okay, let's read this back. It is apparent that in highly developed and built up areas, there are many vehicles on the road causing issues for the majority of society. In this essay, the negative impacts connected with this issue will be issue and issues with this situation. will be presented alongside some possible ways to rectify the problem. Okay, so there we go. We've paraphrased and then we've stated what we're going to do in the essay. Brilliant. So we can now go into our first paragraph, which will look at the problems, and let's talk about the main problem, which is the issue of convenience and this affecting people's quality of life. So with an abundance of motor cars, or maybe passenger vehicles, driving through city roads, this no doubt presents some challenges with an abundance of passenger vehicles driving through the city roads. This presents some challenges. The main one being the inconvenience caused to most people living in that area. Okay, so we're arguing that the inconvenience is traffic congestion. That's its biggest issue here. For example, commuters, we can go by. Commuters will have to factor in extra time out of their day for travel. Additionally, emergency trips, such as in an ambulance, are additionally emergency trips such as in an ambulance or such as an ambulance ride will have extra added minutes onto a potentially life-threatening situation. Okay, so it's not just inconvenient, it is also can be life-threatening. So maybe we can add that, the main one being the inconvenience. Sometimes extremely serious. Sometimes in extremely serious cases caused to most people living in that area. For example, commuters will have to factor in extra time out of their day for travel. Additionally, emergency trips such as an ambulance ride will have added minutes onto a potentially life-threatening situation. Okay, so these are some issues that affect the quality of life for the people in that city. This inevitably lowers the quality of life for these city dwellers, maybe. Okay, we can talk about maybe the pollution as well. So a further problematic developments is the fact that when cars are sat in traffic and the engine is on, this releases more pollutants into the environment compared with a trip that is much shorter on clear roads. Okay, let's read this back and see how it's sounding. With an abundance of passenger vehicles driving through the city roads, this presents some challenges. The main one being the inconvenience, sometimes in extremely serious cases, caused to most people living in that area. Actually, I'm not too keen on this. Maybe we can cause the main one being the inconvenience caused to most people living in that area. Sometimes this has serious consequences. There we go. I prefer that. For example, commuters will have to factor in extra time out of their day for travel. Additionally, emergency trips such as an ambulance ride will have added minutes onto a potentially life-threatening situation. This inevitably lowers the quality of life for these city dwellers. A further problematic development is the fact that when cars are sat in traffic and the engine is on, this releases more pollutants into the environment compared with a trip that is much shorter on clear roads. Okay, so these are some problems of sitting in traffic, having just not a clear road to go down in your passenger car. So let's go into what we can do to be done. What can we do, maybe on a big level, on a small level, to reduce this issue? Even though these are prevalent problems we've used, issues we've used, flaws, there are ways in which we can reduce traffic and therefore lessen the above mentioned scenarios. Even though these are prevalent flaws, there are ways, with an S, ways in which we can reduce traffic and therefore lessen the above mentioned scenarios. Maybe lessen the likelihood. Okay, likelihood of the above mentioned scenarios. The main one would be investing in public transport. So a government campaign to improve public transport, perhaps through raising taxes, could be the primary way to encourage cars off the roads. With an effective metro system, that's the main one I'm thinking here, because we want to take them off the roads. Maybe we could say with effective metro, train, and maybe bus as well. I know that's on the roads, but with effective metro, train and bus systems, individuals would be much more inclined to not travel by car or taxi. Car or taxi. Okay, let's talk about cycling and walking as well. This could work in conjunction with a scheme to enhance cycle routes and pedestrianized. Ooh, we're checking our spelling. Pedestrianized areas. Oh, there we go. This could work in conjunction with a scheme to enhance cycle routes and pedestrianized areas, not only helping congestion, but greatly aiding our carbon footprints as well. Not only helping congestion, but greatly diminishing. That's a good word to say, lessen. Diminishing. Oh, and we'll make sure we're spelling that right. Okay, so we're not only doing a great public transport system, but we are also encouraging cycling in other ways, like walking. Maybe e-bikes the scooters are very popular now. Yes, so we're going towards that. So now we can just do a small line on how to encourage people to drive even less. So moreover, to discourage unnecessary trips in a car, roads could be closed at certain times. Or the weekends, only open to public transport vehicles. Only being open to public transport vehicles. Okay, let's read this back and see how we're doing. Even though these are prevalent flaws, there are ways in which we can reduce traffic and therefore lessen the likelihood of the above mentioned scenarios. A government campaign to improve public transport, perhaps through raising taxes, could be the primary way to encourage cars off the road. With effective metro, train, and bus systems, individuals would be much more inclined not to travel by car or taxi, not to travel by expensive, maybe, or expensive taxis. This could work in conjunction with a scheme to enhance cycle routes and pedestrianised areas, not only helping congestion, but greatly diminishing our carbon footprints as well. Moreover, to discourage unnecessary trips in a car, roads could be closed at certain times or the weekends, only being open to public transport vehicles. Okay, I think that's good. Let's tie this up with a nice conclusion. On the whole, back up, maybe clogged up roads negatively affects the happiness of the residents. And also the air pollution, the pollution in the air, investing in alternative ways of traveling en masse, such as an underground, could be one of many ways to help alleviate congestion. Okay, I think that's good. Let's just read back this conclusion. On the whole, clogged up roads negatively affects the happiness of the residents and also the pollution in the air. Investing in alternative ways of travelling en masse, such as an underground, could be one of many ways to help alleviate congestion. Okay, let's count the words to this one. Okay, so this word count comes to 209. So a little bit over the 150 minimum there. What I would say for this one is that perhaps this this paragraph here about the line graph, you could maybe shorten that a little bit if you wanted to lessen the word count. That would be my recommendation, so that they're a little bit more balanced, these two paragraphs here. But nevertheless, you've seen how we've structured this one. So we've tackled the line graph first because there's quite a bit to say about that. And we've tackled the pie chart in the second one. There's less to say about the pie chart. So potentially you could have structured this with the line graph, talked about June and July in one paragraph, then maybe August and September in the next, and you could have perhaps weaved in the information from the pie charts and put that in with the paragraphs. Both are fine. There's no particular right or wrong way, you know, as long as you do this logically. So this is the way that we've done it today, but I'm sure at home you have different, perhaps different ideas or different pieces of the data that you'll pull out to demonstrate, and that's absolutely fine. So we've looked at a process today all about chocolates, and we've ended with multiple charts. So I really hope that's been helpful. These are two task ones that cause students some issues sometimes. They can be a bit overwhelming and daunting. So hopefully that has demonstrated how you can approach each one. Really the approach stays the same. We structure it with the paraphrasing, the overview, and then the two main bodies as we would normally. So in that respect, it doesn't change. We might just have to think about slightly different language to use in them, but that's fine. Once we're confident with that, then that's it's a straightforward process. So thank you for coming along today. I hope this has been helpful to you. Do let us know if you've got any questions or comments. We love to hear from you, and we'll see you in the next video.